Wow. Check, check, check. Good afternoon, good evening, and good day. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast. And I still haven't fixed this light right here. And if I turn that one off, we get a weird shadow. Let's try turning it off because it's right next to the camera. Let's see. Nope, not the clipboard. I need the lights. They are. Nope, that's the server. There you go, lights. They're linked, so I can't. Oh well. Oh, I didn't fix the. Let's fix that. Title. Title. Give me the title. It is the last time we did this in this program was obviously the 4th, because last week we had our road show, which was full of technical gremlins until the end. All right, let's check out the YouTube. It's saying that the stream level is a little lower than they'd like. It's only HD quality. It's not 4K. No, it's enough for 8K or 4K too. It's not 8K. Okay, so we got that, and we've got a chat. First in the chat is Lee. It says, "Hey, happy Sunday! Happy Sunday to you as well." All right, so let's go to the next view, and we get started. I put a nice little order to everything, but then it was just me and Moto, and she wanted me to watch the iPad with her. Every time I look away, it was Daddy, Daddy. Actually, first it was Mommy, 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 and then she remembers that my name is not Mommy, and then so I've got 5 stories pulled up already. Let's do this. Let's go to. First, we'll make sure that the collab cam is working. It is. And then we will go to presentation view. There we go. Transition and exit studio mode. Give us more RAM. So first up, we've got, did I even? No, I did not. I don't think I did. Stand by real quick. I'm gonna make sure I'm not burying the lead. Or did I talk about it last Sunday? I don't know. So we'll point out that Stellantis has joined the NACS. They have not joined the Supercharger Coalition. Their announcement said absolutely 0 words about supercharging or Tesla. However, they did announce adapters, which is interesting because BMW Group did join the Supercharger Coalition, but said 0 about adapters. So it's this whole rollout of announcements has been quite interesting, and the only automaker that's making electric cars that has not yet said anything is, well, there's Ferrari as well, but depending on if you want to look at their stock ownership being mostly Stellantis, or the fact that they're an independent company, could tell you one way or the other that they're probably also going to do the right thing when they come to North America. But there's VinFast, and they haven't gone to NACS yet. And beyond VinFast, of people making electric vehicles that have not switched are the electric commercial truck makers who are still using CCS1. I think they would be wise to convert over to NACS as well, or to MCS3 whenever it's ready. And part of the reason they haven't switched is that MCS3 is not actually ready, which is why the Tesla Semi is using MCS2, even though using MCS2 allegedly exposes you to legal action by somebody who claims to own the patent on the blades that are inside the connector, which is why would you have made that? But unless these people showed up after everything was already in the metal, but still, it sounds like something they could work out rather than exposing their members to getting sued. But that's probably why MCS3 is the thing. So let's continue on. So the IONNA EV charging network is what is IONNA? IONNA is the name of that group that all the other automakers who were not making superchargers before said that they were going to put together. Honda, Stellantis, Mercedes, and so forth. But up until now, we hadn't had a name for the thing. It was just like, oh yeah, we're going to have NACS ports and we're going to have CCS1 ports and it's going to be great. It's going to be the best ever. Just empty promises. Now, not only does it have a name, uh, apparently Stellantis is so smelling their stuff about it. They think that this thing is going to be a viable solution in time for next year when their customers are going to be having native ports on their cars to actually use this network to do all their driving. And what I pointed out online and on the Tesla Live show is that Tesla's been putting out superchargers since 2012. Here we are 12 years later, and look where we are. It's not impossible to have as robust a rollout in 1 year. It's highly unlikely that you'll be able to roll out over 15,000 charging stations, sites, not stalls, not plugs, sites, in, that's just for North America, in under a year. Because the other thing you have to look at is even if you could get, oh, hey, look, I think Mark's here. Yeah, Mark's here. Let's get him on. There he is. So what I want to send back is I'll send back to Mark the projector so he can see what I see. Um, Window capture, I guess. Yeah, because I can't send the actual projector back, so I'll just send him back what's on my screen, so he doesn't have to wait for it to show up on YouTube. And close. All right. So I see him laughing, but I don't hear him. He's got to unmute himself. Yes. So, I mean, I think this name is not bad. They could have chosen any number of just wildly goofy names, and it's really hard to pick names these days because unless it's your like given name, then you've got a lot of just trademarks and other. You gotta get a website. You gotta all the stuff you gotta make sure is ready. You gotta make sure that social is open, and it just makes sense to have these weird names for the moment. And let's see what do we got next. Let's scroll down and look at the article on this a little bit, and then we'll get back to that point we were talking about how Stellantis can't do this rollout in a year once Mark's audio is working. Let's see if they have a reason for their name, like, ooh, this imbues regality or loyalty or reliability. You know, sometimes they give you that marketing fluff. Let me also make sure that let me go on turn on the audio to the stream and so you guys can hear Mark, because if it's just me, I need to change my audio. Because that's happened before. Can you say something, Mark? Let's see. Okay, so you're muted on there too. Okay, cool. Let me change my thing anyway. Da, 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 da. Speaker is using the same as the system. then I need to change audio mixer. And collab cam is coming in. Yes, baby. Okay, but people don't like it when you cry. What's wrong? Look, Mark is here. Yeah, look at the smile. Why are you crying? Is it time to brush your teeth? Yeah. Okay, you gonna stay on the show? Okay. I thought you were getting down. All right, so audio monitoring device is this one. Let me change it directly to my headphones. And it's weird though that this happens. Hey Mark, what if you refresh the page? Um, okay, and then let me change this back the way it was because it did work last time. And close that. All right. Do you want your headphones? You can hear Mark? No? Or yes? Okay, no. Um, settings. And then we'll put Mark back in where he was. Show on stream.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
That's so weird.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
I hear you.
Okay. Got
it. Okay. So I was talking about how Stellantis, they plan to, oh, not just Stellantis, but Stellantis is relying on Iona to be robust enough that they don't need to come together with Tesla to make an agreement. And I was pointing out there's been 12 years since the supercharger network was first started launching, and while it's not physically impossible to match the supercharger network in terms of sites in 1 year, it's not practically possible because you've got to manufacture all the equipment, you got to get it in the ground, of which that part can be done, but you've also got to get your permits, and government doesn't care that you need to get it done in 365 days.
There's not a chance they're even going to get a quarter of what Tesla has done in 12 years. There's no chance. Absolutely no chance. This is just pie in the sky. This is just media speak. This is just put it out there and people forget about it. That's really what this is.
Yeah. Good evening, Anders. Good to see you. But the thing I would think about this though is as a potential customer, if I'm looking at Cybertruck and Lightning and Hummer and don't touch the tools, baby, and items like that, why would I consider the Ram electric, assuming that we're not talking about the Ram extended range, if I knew that I would have to be back into the early days of EV ownership where I got to look to see if I could find a compatible charger and is it going to work?
And the only reason I can see that, Kacey, is that future Stellantis customers that actually buy into the brand are people that are loyal to the Stellantis brand,
like a Toyota customer.
They're not looking around as to what the facts are.
Yeah.
And although they're going to believe what the salesman at the Stellantis dealership tells them, and they're going to be in trouble for it. Like they can get away with this if you've got their hybrid Jeep. People can still get around on gas if they can't find a plug station. If it's not fast enough, it's not going to kill them. They're happy to burn fuel if they can. Do nothing else. So, but when it gets into a full-fledged EV, like for example, what they had on display here recently at the Toronto International Auto Show, they had the Daytona, the Charger Daytona SRT, full electric concept car.
Yeah,
that is going to have a serious problem charging.
Yes,
and people that buy it, unfortunately, are going to find out firsthand that vehicle will not. It's going to have a real hard time finding a charge station that can deliver a charge in a timely manner.
It'll have to be an additional vehicle rather than a primary. But so that got me thinking: is this a nefarious thing? Like, are they going to try and get people to say, "Oh, EVs suck," and then like everybody else will be looking at them and be like, "Well, mine doesn't, no matter what brand it is, because all the
Well, and
complaints about charging."
of course, that's at Dodge and Stellantis' own peril, because the Iona EV charging set is also being paid for by other manufacturers. Groups like Kia and GM are also putting money into this charging network. It's not going to get the amount of chargers in place that it claims, but if it gets some in place, it's helpful. It's just misleading that they're saying it's going to be a competitor to Tesla, when in all metrics it's not going to be for a long time, if ever.
If ever. Uh, so the way I see them having the most success is if they pull a Rivian and they put their network in the holes in the network, the places that Tesla doesn't even have on their roadmap. Like when you look at the voting of where we're going to put the next supercharger, and they don't even have anything close. All right, let's put a site here, and let's not put it on the out in the adventure in the woods, because Rivian's going to put theirs there. Let's make this work for everybody, because at this point everybody has said that you can use any charger you want. Uh, the only exception here is since Stellantis hasn't said the word supercharger, and they might be working on this in the background, but as it stands today, if you bought that electric van we talked about a couple weeks ago that just came out, and you get the adapter that they talked about, and you plug into a supercharger, it might not work, because like with Ford and GM, you use your appropriate app that already is in place, and you can use it. If you are at a Magic Dock site, now you don't need their adapter because you've got one on the supercharger, and then you use your Tesla app. But part of the agreement is so that they don't have you buying this car and then every time you need to refill it, you're looking at, well, every time you need to refill it on the road, you're not looking at Tesla branding every time, other than on the station itself. And I see if Tesla just opens up big chunks of the network, regardless of if there's agreement, like they did in Europe, and then you can subscribe if you're somebody who needs to do a lot of road trips, you can subscribe to get the same price as Tesla owners. I can see that being a plus, but I just don't see how it isn't a lesser experience no matter what you plug into for a Stellantis owner at this point in time, assuming that the
Absolutely,
cars
and
come
and I think that if Iona charging network decides that they're going to try to plug holes where Tesla is not, I think that someone like Stellantis, who hasn't signed a deal with Tesla, is going to be in a rough position, because if you start putting these in secondary or tertiary sites, there's a reason they're tertiary or secondaries, because there's not a lot of traffic there. There's not a lot of need there. So yes, you'll plug some holes for the occasional passerby, but people in the major centers, if they don't have an agreement with another charging network, going to have a real problem.
Yeah, because it'll work for everybody else, including Mazda, who doesn't make a car that can even make it between the stations at the moment. Anders says they don't care about the customers, but about the customers' money. As long as the customers are stupid enough, this will continue. And at the way it stands right now, that's how it looks. And I like that observation there, Anders. So let's see what we have next. We've got. I was saying before you got on, Mark, that Moto made it so I didn't get everything in the order of the email that I sent you. So it's in the order that I found them in.
That's all right.
So now we've got Shell is exiting the California hydrogen fuel market. They're closing 7 stations and axing the expansion plans. So I used to live in places that had, actually they were all Shells, but that wasn't the point. They were hydrogen stations, and they all shut down. I was in Columbia, South Carolina, and I was in Washington, D.C., and they don't have stations anymore. I think even Canada has had a reduction in stations, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So what do you guys have? It's the West Coast, basically?
There's some on the West Coast, and there's some in the GTA, but it's limited, and a lot of them are limited to people with fuel cards for fleets.
Oh, so if you were just a retail customer, you can't even use it.
Yeah. Yeah, in a lot of cases, it's not even, it's just a fleet type of thing. But you have to look at how many of these vehicles are actually on the road.
There is that.
And there's, it's interesting, the Shell article here from Drive Tesla Canada, they indicated that Shell was having issues with 3 of the stations beforehand, that they were up and down. They weren't on regularly, and they decided that those 3 were going to close. And shortly after that decision, they looked at the rest of the network and said, I don't think we want to be in this business anymore.
Why did this at all?
So obviously, they're having issues with keeping the stations up. Maybe it's parts, or maybe it's their partnerships with people that supply them. But they also get to look at the other side of the coin, which of course is how much demand is there? How many customers were we getting? These stations cost quite a bit of money to put in place. The infrastructure, the storage, the tanks, all this kind of stuff is not free. And
maintenance, because the fuel is passing through the walls of whatever you put it in.
And looking at the fuel costs that they have to charge and what they're making profit-wise, obviously they've made a business decision based on what they can forecast. And hydrogen is not the future of personal transportation. It may be okay for trains or large buses or other things.
Ships. Yeah.
But it is not for a 4-door hatchback.
Right. And it's good on rockets, but it's not the greatest on rockets. Otherwise, everybody would use hydrogen rockets, and they don't.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other concerns there, but you would see more hydrogen rockets than we do if it were that great there.
And I don't know how many times this has been trumpeted. Certainly, it seems that the other side that said that hydrogen was a viable option was either Toyota or the government of Japan, or fuel companies that currently sell fossil fuels.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that Shell, one of those companies that sell fossil fuels and has forever, has decided that, you know what, this is not going to work.
Yeah. So I had an anecdote on this. I had a friend who bought a Mirai from the dealer down in California, and one of his stations is one of the ones that constantly was having troubles. I don't know if it's one of the ones that got shut down, but it was down enough that Toyota paid for him to rent a, I don't know if it was a Camry Avalon, for about 3 months, including gas, because he couldn't use his free hydrogen or the hydrogen car because there was nothing in his driving radius, so he couldn't use the car that he paid for.
Wow.
And that was wild. So while we're on the subject, I'll just go into this post I made on X. And I said hydrogen for everyday hydrogen for everyday transport is a scam. $36 a kilogram versus even the craziest gas price. Tax dollars should fund proven solutions, not fossil fuel industry pipe dreams. Quit wasting our money. Say no to hype. And that was in response to Rohan Patel, who's VP of BizDev and, doesn't say, for Tesla, BizDev and policy. And let's see what he put in there. He said, governments around the world are wasting tax dollars on hydrogen for light and heavy duty infrastructure. Like smoking, it's never too late to quit. And that's coming from Alex, who is commenting on this same topic we're talking about. Shell will permanently close all 7 of its California hydrogen fueling stations immediately. So can you imagine you just bought a car 2 months ago and all of the places you can get fuel closed? and these are what, $60,000 to $80,000 cars, so it's not like most people have paid cash for them. You gotta still make payments.
It's something. I would be interested to see what the sales rate of the Mirai has been in the state of California over the past 3 years, 4 years. I'd like to see where the numbers actually lie. I don't know if Toyota actually publishes that, or if they lump their cars into other Corollas as well, so you can hide the number. But right. This is a serious issue for people that believe the line that Toyota was selling, that hydrogen is something that, although it is zero tailpipe emission, yes, absolutely, but there's not enough infrastructure and cars themselves to make this worthwhile to pursue. Maybe if Toyota in their test market was to actually fund and keep the hydrogen stations open, but this is just a slap in the face for people that believe them, because now they're, and I don't think Shell was the only one that provided hydrogen in Southern California, but having them pull out completely, a little bit of writing on the wall here. I would, if I owned a Mirai, your value of selling that car as a used car has diminished significantly with this announcement.
Right, and there's too many of them for everybody to donate theirs to a museum. So, I think the last time I got figures on them, I don't know for what year it was, but it was under 100 for that quarter. And I don't know if that came from Toyota or if it came from like we have where people can figure out which Teslas go where they're like reading insurance data and registrations directly from the state, that sort of thing. But as
I'll do a little Googling in between, see if I come up with something.
As a customer, that's not a good place to be. And the promise of what they're selling us, this pipe dream, only works with green hydrogen. And most hydrogen is not green hydrogen; it's gray or blue, where it's coming from unknown sources or coming from fossil fuels. With the green hydrogen, it's significantly more expensive, and if you don't use that, now all of the promises are gone. Now it's actually sometimes worse pollution than a gas car. In addition,
Kacey, they've sold more than I expected. U.S. annual sales rates for the Toyota Mirai in 2017, the first year, 1,838 units.
Wow.
In 2018, it dropped a little bit to 1,689.
Okay.
In 2019, 1,502. Oh. And then in 2020, it dropped to 499.
That's when people realized it was a scam.
It took them 3 years, 3 full years. And then there's no figures after that on this particular website.
I wonder if the no figures is because it became so small it was hard to find.
Maybe. There could be some other sites that would show that, but that is I was expecting around the 499 for every year. That sounded right to me, but 499 was the 2020, the most recent figure published here.
And then to the point that Mark pointed out earlier about now that you see the writing on the wall and you're ready to jump out, remember that guy we talked about a couple months ago who I don't know, something changed with his job or his schedule where he knew the car no longer worked for him. And so he needed out. And he went around to all the dealers and everybody said, no, we don't want that. Sorry, you can keep it. And then one dealer took pity on him and gave him like $6,000 for it, only if he would trade it in for a new Toyota. So they didn't want it. They wanted him to buy a new car. They wanted to buy it from him. And they would figure out how to get rid of the thing later. Remember, he paid $80,000 for this car. He got like $6,000 for it. So I'm not laughing at any of the customers who bought in. I mean, it sounded good. I'm not laughing at any of you. What we've been saying, this won't go for personal transportation this go around. I'm not saying it can never work, but as everything is set up today, it won't work for personal. And then they're talking about trains and heavy ships. Everything but the rockets. I'm not gonna say it doesn't work there. And the airplanes are the second one. Airplanes because it's lighter and then you can refill it quickly. I don't know that they're not better served by either electric or biogas.
Here's a update from 2023 from another website. Toyota in the United States sold 882 Mirais. And as a side note, Hyundai Nexo sold 68 units in that same year. So
some days have been like this, flat. Probably has something to do with the fact that I don't think that South Korea is doing the same thing with their government with hydrogen that Japan is doing, because Man, those Japanese automakers were just really into it.
And let's be honest, it's people that bought into this. I just wonder if they've done their homework. And when I say homework, if you're moving into a new technology, any new technology, it's probably best to pull some present owners far and wide as to what their use case is. Does it match your use case and what their experience has been? Because even with electric cars, it's something that you should definitely join Facebook groups or other social media contacts that you can actually converse with current owners, so that you're not stuck with a lemon that's not going to perform what you need it to perform for how you're going to use it.
And that was the only reason we even got that story about the guy who took a I don't even want to say bath. He drowned on his his Mirai purchase. Um, the only reason we got that was because, like Mark said, somebody was doing their due diligence. They saw a used one for like $11,000. Said, "Oh, that's a great car. I only need to go to the grocery store, to the doctor, and back. Maybe I should get that." And so he was asking around, and that's when this guy he saw this guy at the fueling station. He said, "Hey, what do you think? I found one for cheap. Should I get it?" The guy said, "No, don't do it." And the guy who was writing the story is like, "Whoa, what's going on? Do you mind if I report on this? Tell me more." And that's how we got the story from him reporting directly on the owner, saying, "Don't. I got hose. Don't do it."
Yeah. Another point would be go to your local hydrogen fueling station and pull a few people that come in to fill up on a Saturday afternoon. Just if you want to talk to real owners, there's the ideal place to do it, because it's not a good scene, and it hasn't been for a while. So, like I said, there's a few thousand of them out there, but the resale market is severely depressed for these cars for a reason.
It is, and so I want to throw some speculation out there as to why I think, aside from the government money, why they've pushed this thing so hard. Is that it allows them to not change anything. They don't have to get into the refueling market. They don't have to install stations. They can let Shell and whoever do it. And assuming that it was profitable, that would have worked. So they don't have to train you on, hey, your range is low. Let me go to a place to go get it back. They don't have to teach you that, oh, you should anticipate on your road trips. You should anticipate time for refueling, because, and that didn't work because some of the stations didn't have enough pressure levels to do more than 3 to 5 cars at a time. Um, because then you're still looking at the same fill times as gas, assuming that the station is at the right pressure level for your car. Because remember, they have two levels. They have a high pressure and a medium pressure. If you're at the high pressure and at a medium pressure station, you're only going to get half a fill. It's physics. So I think that paradigm not having to change, not having to teach the customers anything, because when I was selling cars at all the places I sold cars, I was always like the hybrid and an electric guy. Somebody would sell a car, and then they'd say, "Hey, can you teach them how to use this thing I just sold them?" And in the interest of being a team player and making sure the customer didn't suffer, that this person didn't do any of their studying, okay, I'll teach them how to use their new car. And then eventually I started a little service in there. I was getting a part of the commission just because they sold the car. Because the manager was like, "Where is he now?" I'm selling this car, or not selling this car, but delivering this car. And why? So they're like, "All right, you're going to give him 2% of what you get paid," and that solved it. Some of them learned a little bit, so that way they would have less of my time used, and that situation is going on around the nation, around the world. So I think they wanted to kind of keep it. Here's the keys, get out.
Yeah.
But that's like I said, it's pure speculation, but it adds up. So next we've got John Deere is going to be building their batteries at their North Carolina factory in 2026. I think that's pretty cool. I've been electric for all of my lawn care and yard care since I bought this place, and then even up in Virginia, I had the electric snowblower, the 2-stage, even though I didn't need a 2-stage. Mark can use a 2-stage when it snows.
Exactly. I don't even have a regular snowblower. It's just arm power at this point.
Yeah, ever since the crash, I can't work the shovel. So, uh, but yeah, so electrify all the things, and let's see, where is this factory at? Because I have lost track now. I have so many different battery factories opening up. They've got their green cred, and it's going to hit the market in 2026 in North Carolina. Nice, and that is with their purchase of Kreisel Electric, and that's exciting. They're going to support a production capacity of up to 2 GWh. Not bad. So we get some jobs and we get some greening of everything. Because one of the things that some of the fudsters like to talk about is, oh well, why don't the lawn care companies go electric? They can. They can now. At the time, they might not have been able to because there wasn't one out there. They're not in the business of creating their own conversions or ground ups. So they need their suppliers to make it. And now all the major suppliers offer something. I was in a back and forth with a tree feller for a logging company. He's like, "Well, I can't do my job with electric," and I looked it up, and sure enough, you can. They assuming that what I saw was correct from Husqvarna and a couple others. They offer electric professional saws in the same catalog that offers the other stuff for tree fellers. So I think we're there. Uh, doesn't mean he doesn't have to carry a bunch of battery packs or load up a charging station on the back of his pickup truck because I don't know. That's not my industry, so I can't speak with authority on that. But I do know the product exists. And
Yeah, and I would think that anybody with a lawn care business that pulls a trailer, like you'd be mounting solar to those roofs, since
yeah,
those trailers are just sitting outside anyways during the day. Why not have it collect something, go into an inverter, and charge some batteries?
yeah. What is it? What's his name? All right, I'm hoping to get the right search here. But we've talked about him before in this show. And well, here's one guy, but that's not the one I was thinking of. There's a young guy who started this guy, the Solar Punk. His look at this. He's towing a solar trailer with his Model Y, and it's not the commercial one. It's the home zero turn mower, and he's got all of the accessories to go with the push mower, the trimmers, the saws. Everything is electric, and it charges from the sun. He said he rarely plugs it into the house. It'd have to be like a week of rain before he needs to plug into the house to recharge everything. And while you're parked at the customer's house, they're not going to be offering you gasoline to
That's absolutely. But the sun's offering you its rays free of charge.
while you're working. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the equipment you're using is draining, and the equipment that's waiting on deck to be used next is recharging. And to think
Yeah.
that you can start out at 100% and then end your day at 75% after going all day is really freaking cool to me. Yeah. So that's cool to see John Deere jump on board because that's a brand name that people trust. So Rob Williams sent us this one about battery trains to be tested in West London this spring. And I was a little confused at first because that already happens, but some folks were saying, well, why not do a third rail? And this is a good point, but the problem with the third rail is that is a massive infrastructure project because you gotta have reliable electricity the whole way. You have to make sure it's safe. You have to make sure that a battery train is easier in certain cases, and definitely in this one. So it's good to see them switching out from diesel to is a diesel electric, switching out from electric to battery electric. So just a matter of switching out the fuel plant and having enough batteries to get the job done, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, just another piece of the puzzle. It's you know what, battery trains are probably not the solution for every train,
Right.
but there are cases for it. So if you can find a case that makes sense to have a battery train in this case, or like we've seen in Australia, a fully solar train in some cases, it can work. But again, having 2 or 3 or 4 different types of renewable trains is a lot better than just having one that only fits one solution. So that's where we've got to go. If we've got to think about how these actually are put to use and what can be put to use in order to get to that end goal.
Exactly, and definitely looking at your situation, seeing what fits. There's an electric train also in Australia that doesn't have any external input at all. It doesn't have solar. It doesn't have a plug. It doesn't have a diesel generator. What happens is it's at a mine, and the mine is at the top of a mountain, and the place they're delivering the goods is at the bottom of the mountain. So they just regen the whole way down the mountain to the coast. They unload the train, and now it's lighter, and it can drive back up to the top. It's got about 15% remaining when it gets back up to the top, and it's at 100% when it's at the bottom doing the unload. That is really crafty, and it only works in certain places, but it's a matter of knowing your needs. And
yeah,
it's really cool. There's plenty of mining trucks that do this all over the world, but I think that's the only train that we've heard published about that's doing that at a large scale. And that's pretty cool. So next, we've got Mark can tell us about this one. I know I'm Mr. Supercharger, but we've heard of larger superchargers all over the world, and usually the biggest ones have been in China so far. But guess who's about to take the crown?
Yeah, so Lost Hills, California has sent a permit in. Tesla has sent a permit in to build a 164 charger station. So this would be the largest in the world for Lost Hills, California. And of course, this is, for those who don't know where that is, it's basically on the I-5 in between Los Angeles and San Francisco. It's close to Kettleman City, which is the name we have heard several times. So this is another option along that I-5 corridor for all the traffic that's flowing between San Francisco and LA every day. And this particular permit, another thing that was interesting in it is that it has 16 pull-through sites as opposed to just backup sites. So this is a plus as we start to see more Cybertrucks on the road, as we start to see more people pulling things on trailers. Kacey knows it's a pain in the butt sometimes to disconnect a trailer, even if it's possible, if you're using a U-Haul. And having that ability to have pull-through stalls at superchargers is going to become a requirement for some that are planning trips. And you know what? I can possibly see that Tesla will even incorporate that into their supercharger navigation, where you could be able to say, I have a trailer. And guess what? It could just route you to the places with pull-throughs as opposed to just regular superchargers. I can definitely see that that's going to be something in the future that they will modify the navigation system for. And as we start to see these particular large sites go into place, more and more of them are having the pull-through option, which is great to see.
I think it'll even probably be an automatic thing, just like right now it knows about headwind, and in the newest software they're adding in your battery age, so that way they know. Sorry, there was licensed music coming in, and I didn't want them to shut us off the air. But they know your battery age, so at this point, they'll see that your trailer connections are plugged in, and they'll see that it's not in accessory mode, and they'll just prefer pull-through charging spaces. I think that's reasonable, considering what we've seen.
Exactly. And of course, the current ones are the ones they started with. They were, a lot of them were delegated by what the property owner said space they had to work with, or what Tesla would have to pay for those leasing of those spaces. And to be honest, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, there wasn't a lot of towing going on, but that has now changed. And more and more of us are using the vehicles with a utility trailer or something bigger. I'd have to say that Mr. Supercharger there was a pioneer when it came to traveling across country with U-Haul trailers attached to his Model X. But it's starting to become more commonplace. And of course, they're going to need more chargers. But what's great here is that Tesla seems to be adding redundancy on these routes, and those redundant superchargers, they're going to contain the pull-through abilities. They're going to contain the V4 superchargers. They're going to contain the newer things that they're adding to the network. And it's, again, I don't see the problem with that redundancy, because we have more and more EVs joining us every day. So they're going to need more chargers, and Tesla's fulfilling that mission.
And speaking of redundancies, this is going to have solar canopies, and I think it's going to have the batteries on site as well. And to that same point, it was a couple of years ago on one of the impact reports that we covered over at the Tesla Live show. Um, they pointed out that the Tesla Energy Network was putting in more energy to the grid than all of the cars combined and their manufacturing uses. So every time they add a station that's got solar on it, you know they're trying to keep that number up there, which is good to see. And speaking of the Tesla Life, we had a Tesla Life Express this week where we talked about Mark's new supercharger.
That's coming up Monday.
Oh, yes. So tune in Monday.
That's right.
Time is ever since
follow us at the Tesla Life, and you can check out our Charging Hubs video that's going live Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Exactly. Here is one that I didn't really want to see happen, and I'm glad that nobody was hurt. This is a crowd. I don't know what the situation is, because I was figuring it was like football celebration like you sometimes have with hockey, people tearing up their
Nope, it was Chinese New Year.
Yeah, but this is in the U.S.
Yeah,
and
San Francisco area.
Yeah, and so it had nothing to do with sports. And all I had to say was I'm glad that nobody was hurt, because there was this Waymo taxi that was just on, not really on idle, but it was running through the town with no customer inside. Thankfully, nobody inside. It stopped for this crowd because they don't want to get shut down like Cruise for doing the wrong thing with pedestrians. And then somebody jumps up on the hood, which, okay, you're exuberant for the celebration or whatever. You probably shouldn't jump on people's cars, but then somebody smashes the window, and then another person jumps in and throws fireworks in it and lights it ablaze. And you should see what I wrote originally before my tone police got at me and said, you shouldn't write that. I was like, this is one of the largest surveillance companies in the world. We're talking about Google Alphabet here. And the car is equipped with sensors upon sensors upon sensors. You've got 8 LiDAR and 20 cameras and radar and sonar. These people are gonna get the book thrown at them, and assuming that Google wants to press charges.
I hope they do. I hope they end up in prison. Like this is just vandalism at its worst case, where you're smashing other people's property, and in this case, setting it ablaze.
Yeah, I mean, yes, they're rich, but that doesn't mean you're richer than somebody else out there. I guarantee it. So, would you want that to happen to you at a much smaller scale, obviously? But the other thing to look at is what if there had been somebody in here? I mean, even worse, what if it wasn't somebody who was able-bodied or was asleep? All of a sudden, they're in a car that's on fire and they're unconscious, or they try to get out, and now you're in a mob situation, because who knows if they're going to blame the passenger who merely rented one ride on whatever they were doing. This could have just been a random act of destruction, or it could have been a commentary on automation and self-driving and computers taking over everything. But
or it's just hoodlums that saw a opportunity.
Yeah. But even then, do you want a hoodlum on a car that that knows everything about you, knows that your left finger is 3.9 centimeters shorter than your middle finger or whatever? So that was a dangerous target.
No, you want well, again, this is I believe it's people that saw an opportunity and decided to perform for a crowd that was cheering them on, and
there was that
made some stupid mistakes, intentional or not, to this smashing this vehicle, and at one point setting off fireworks on the inside of the broken window. And guess what? The interior is going to catch on fire, and you're going to have yourself a battery fire shortly. This was a Jaguar I-Pace vehicle, and you just basically torched someone's $70,000 vehicle.
$70,000 just for the car. Another probably $150,000 for the sensor hat on top.
Yeah.
And then the labor to do the modifications. Even if they don't press charges, they just want their money back. That those young people are gonna be working for a long time for Google. So you guys know I like to do a recall segment wherever possible, and so I did just have the recall update on my Model X, the one that makes the brake lights just 5% bigger and changes them from the icons that everybody else has to the words. And literally, that was the only thing in the notes. It didn't say bug fixes. It said here, and it showed a picture of the lights they changed.
Indicator lights, not lights themselves, just indicator lights on the display screen.
Yeah, and these are the ones that, assuming there's nothing wrong with your car, they show up for 2 seconds when you push the brake and get it ready to shift into gear. and people are like, well, these are the same ones everybody else uses. And when you look at the other automakers who were told to do something about this, I think it was Ford and Toyota, but don't quote me on that part. They were large automakers, and NHTSA said that they should change theirs, and they came back with oh, it's going to be too hard, it's going to be expensive, it doesn't really even change anything. Can you let us out of this? And they were let out of it. But Tesla, they could have done the same thing, but since it is just a screen, and they didn't need to go anywhere to do it, they being them or us, the customers, they just pushed an update and said, all right, here's your ugly icons. But at the same time, the fact they allowed an exemption to the others before they came after Tesla tells me, like, is this that big a deal? Why not just make sure that the new cars have it? Because clearly it wasn't enough that you felt that millions of gauge clusters should be replaced and odometers synced up to match with because there's changing odometers is a one-time thing for authorized repairs. So every time there's a recall that involves an odometer, it becomes a mess, and that's what they were looking at. And Tesla could have filed the thing, and they said, "Nah, let's just roll with it." And I'm wondering at this point if the reason they're just saying, "All right, every software update's a recall," is to counter this boy who cried recall situation where it's going to get to the point where there's going to be something major, either for another manufacturer or for Tesla, and people are going to just like, oh yeah, this is nothing, it's just a software update, and so people could get hurt because of recall fatigue. So what Tesla's asking is, when they want to call it something else, if it's an over-the-air software update versus a bring it in recall or bring it in software update, and that's my terminology of what Tesla's trying to do. And then they also want to stop mailing out letters for software updates that are already on the cars. Like, I got the letter, so this time was the first time I got a letter in a long time. I don't know what's up with me, but other people continue to get these letters. And this was the first time also that the letter came before I got the update. I got the letter 2 days before I got the update. And that's only because I'm on FSD beta. But the last FSD beta related recall I got was where it was rolling stop signs, like the California rolling stops. It's the colloquialism. And the people who got the letters got them weeks after we had already got the update. So there was no car left that was doing this, and then they still had to mail a letter. Mark's country is a little smarter about it, and they're allowed to email you about it. Somebody said even better than email is since you need the app for everything, just do a notification to the app and call it a day.
Yeah, and just keep it on the app screen until you either clear it or a technician clears it.
Yeah. Oh, they're here. They've done it. It doesn't matter. Clear. And I think that's something there. And I'm not saying that Tesla is doing that, but it wouldn't put me. I wouldn't put it past them given the what's going on here. And so now Lucid is facing their own over-the-air recall for faulty heaters. And let's see how that one is playing out. It's not yet a recall, is it? No, it is already a recall, and they're investigating the fix, which is a little weird because you have to tell them about the fix before you do it. So these are the high voltage coolant heaters, and it impacts 2,042 vehicles manufactured in 2022 and 2023 over a defect where the high voltage supplied by Webasto. Webasto you might know as a group that makes diesel heaters for hobbyists. This component is critical for defrosting the windshield. It's been found to fail, potentially compromising driver safety and visibility. And instead of a regular recall, software update. Jaguar did the same thing with the iPace regular. That's weird. The Office of Defects is concerned that by only providing notification to drivers that their windshield defroster is not working, Lucid puts the driver in a situation where they could experience failure during the same drive cycle as they receive the notification. Oh, okay. That's the problem. It's not enough of an advance warning. In this scenario, the driver is not aware they have a failed HVCH until they are operating the vehicle and need the defrost function prior to being able to have the vehicle serviced. Yeah, that would be a problem. Their whole thing for these organizations is safety, even if they do it ham-fistedly. And I agree. Your defroster's broken as your window is fogged up when it starts raining on a hot, humid day. It's not the time you want to find out about it.
Absolutely.
Wow. Yeah, so I didn't actually, I saw the recall when it came across, and I think I might have reported on it, but I didn't know that it was not implemented well. Oh, so this is one that we talked about on the Tesla Life this week, where the municipality of Ames ISD, they purchased a few Teslas for their police fleet, and they had to go explain themselves because too much FUD is out there, and their constituents, they were concerned that money was being wasted on luxury cars, and this is not that. So they went into the reasons why this is good stewardship of the money that they were trusted with. And so Tesla said and retweeted or reposted their message to their people. They said that Tesla could save departments over $4,000 in police equipment. And as we talked about when we talked with one of the police chiefs, they saved over $6,000 in their fleet, to the point where they were able to $6,000 up front, to the point where they were then able to hire additional officers, buy charging stations, and help reduce their cost of their move of headquarters. That is really cool, just by not buying some fossil cars.
Yeah, it's something that a lot of police departments have caught on to. I'm happy to say. We typically see a story of a police department switching, or a security department switching, or a university switching. Once every couple of weeks, we see somebody new catching on to this game that Tesla vehicles certainly can help reduce their costs and maintenance, and of course fueling for those fleets.
Exactly. All right, so let's see. Let's go to the next story. Close the first one and go back to the story view, because I changed it because I was clicking on stuff and it was flashing, which is not a good look for some folks. So this one was one that, wow, really got out of control. So let's start with my tweets on the matter, and then we'll go into what happened. So I started with, it's always tragic when someone dies. Though it has been reported that the Tesla fatality involves potential driver impairment, this raises complex questions about autonomous tech versus individual responsibility. Let's break this down. Today, no commercially available vehicle is legally or practically self-driving. Tesla's full self-driving and similar tech features are sophisticated ADASs, or driver assistants. They're not replacements for an alert and engaged driver. I know unexpected FSD actions firsthand. In the early months of FSD beta, my car attempted exits off of overpasses with solid barriers at least 5 times, and Mark is familiar with those as well. I was like, oh, what's going on? In Tesla's own words, FSD beta may do the wrong thing at the worst time. They prove why today's tech requires attentive drivers. And this is, as I said, in the early days. My car hasn't tried to jump off of a bridge in many, many months. And I think it's gone, but I can't say that because it's really hard to prove a negative. But I still watch it. Because you never know what it's going to do. It's beta. They say pay attention. I think it'd be best to pay attention. And then, so update. These incidents, the overpass incidents occurred in my early FSD beta experience. I haven't had similar incidents in over 40,000 miles or several years. While that could suggest improvement, I remain alert and drive defensively, knowing that unexpected tech behavior remains a possibility. You'll see what I'm referring to in just a moment. I got onto a I got into a mood. Some cars offer limited level 3 capabilities. Driver's hands off, but eyes on the road. Driver's eyes on the road, ready to take over. That's not quite accurate. You can actually take your eyes off the road, but you need to be ready to take over. Currently, there are only 2 models. One is a lease-only option, and they activate in only very specific heavy traffic situations, and they still have limits. So what I'm referring to there is in Japan, there was a lease of about 100 vehicles that only works on certain roads in certain conditions, heavy traffic, below 30 miles an hour, blah, 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 where the automaker will take, they will take the liability if something happens in that very controlled set of circumstances, and you can take your eyes off the road, but you can't sleep, you can't leave the driver's seat, and you need to be ready for whatever message they tell you. It's your turn. Hey, Jesus, take the wheels. Your turn. I have the cup. And the other is the Mercedes, and it's a similar situation to the Super Cruise, where it only works on mapped roads, but the roads are they're even less than Super Cruise. And again, just like the Honda version, it's going to lean heavy traffic below, I think, 18 miles an hour, was it, Mark? And they'll take liability if something manages to happen in that small narrow window that they don't think will happen. So even there, it's not full self-driving. It's it's an assist. And then I included the levels chart so you could familiarize yourself with it. I continue on. Operating any vehicle while impaired is reckless and puts many lives at risk. Systems designed with driver participation require the driver to be alert and capable of safely taking control. So, not asleep, not drowsy, not having a medical incident, and not drunk. And not 3 times the limit drunk. As Washington Post's full self-driving fatality title plus moody images, they don't seek to inform. From the headline to the officer quote to the crash video, sensationalism overshadows complex human and tech limitations. Let's demand safety first in both news and driving development. And Moo Ruby says the Washington Post piece from today, just as I did. He also didn't link to the article because it was trash. I gave you the title so you could find it later if you needed to. Tesla FSD caused a crash that killed the driver. They also report that the driver had a blood alcohol level of 0.26, which is 3 times the legal limit. Someone can barely even walk at that level of intoxication. Some may black out or even die from alcohol poisoning. And so then he includes a quote from the article. The person who was their eyewitness to this was also sloshed up his butt, and he said he couldn't tell that the driver was drunk. I'm wondering now, how drunk were you that you couldn't tell that the driver was drunk?
Yeah.
Then we got some updates on it. So the Tesla leadership insists that the software for its most advanced FSD features was not installed in the car in the fatal crash we discussed yesterday. However, Tesla also reports a lack of telemetry feed to confirm this due to weak cellular service, and this raises huge questions about how we understand risks in crash like this. Let's dive in. It turns out that reporting known as Standing General Order, or SGO, gets triggered if somebody alleges, with no proof required, advanced tech may have been in use, or if there was an attempt to activate it. So what happened here is the widow and the drunk guy thought that the guy thought he was using FSD. So if you try to turn on FSD and it doesn't work, and in the case where the Tesla can't refute it because the logs are gone, no cell service, and then the computer burned down. And I'm not blaming the fire department for not trying to save the computer. You try to save the people, you try to limit the spread of the fire. If you can, maybe grab the computer, but that just wasn't an option for them. So because there was no data, they have to publish basically verbatim the allegations. So the widow and the other drunk guy are saying that he tried to turn it on. So they had to publish it. But what we found out is that you can't turn it on if it's not in the car. You might be able to offer the free auto steer, but for whatever reason, this guy, he got the free FSD that you get as an employee, but it was not yet installed in the car. Either he didn't push the button or he didn't check the box saying, hey, I agree. So what if the manufacturer has no data? It doesn't matter. Report it as a fact to regulators anyway. And how does that keep us safe? I drove Uber with my previous Tesla. It had AP1. Think of an ancient version of today's autosteer, but less precise. Writers would often say, "You mean this car drives itself? I can get one of these and party." No, you can't. My response is always, "I'm your designated driver. The computer is my co-pilot." As the 2016 demo presented, the aspirational goal that we saw in the video and Elon's tweets, coast-to-coast drive on any route connected by land without any intervention, is a long way off. I mean, it could be this year, it could be another 10 years, but it's not what we are driving today. And until they say, hey, we'll take liability, here's your car's driver's license, you need to be the driver. So the car needs a driver's license. It's still practicing with Dad right now. He's driver's ed. I'm helping it drive. Next, they need a way to automatically charge. I think this will come first, of like before they get their certificate. I think they'll have automated charging. Now that everyone that matters has committed to NACS on their little dick. Now that everyone who matters is committed to NACS on their cars, except for VinFast, and everyone has supercharging agreement except Stellantis and VinFast. So for now, remain alert and remain sober. And so let's look at Rohan's tweet. Rohan said, "A tragic loss of one of our team members and inaccurate reporting on it. Apart from FSD beta software not being downloaded on the car, the data from the incident was not retrievable. Notwithstanding the lack of information, as per NHTSA Standing General Order requirements, Tesla reported the incident on the basis of unverified allegations that were made onto the vehicle owner questionnaire and submitted to the agency. While we disagree with the SGO rules and the confusion they caused, as evidence in this case and others, we follow the rules regardless." And I would expect a company that of their size to obey the law, and so he's explaining why they said that. Like, if you look at Tesla's incident report, they'll show one incident that matches this because they couldn't refute it. And then Elon tweeted on it as well. I don't know why that's not linked in here. What do you think about this, Mark? We're talking about the Washington Post saying that the Tesla employee has fiery death while operating FSD, which, whew, I don't know if you had a chance to read that piece. It was not what I'd call good journalism. Oh, you're muted again. Or did you push mute on the screen? No. You want to refresh again real quick? There's Mark. And let's show on stream. There we go. I think I hear you. Right now I hear you, but don't see you. Oh boy. There you are.
Testing?
Yes.
Just like the other articles we see out there with spectacular headlines, it's a click to pay bills. Like, this is nothing new. This is regular media at this point. They're more concerned with getting eyeballs for clicks, and they will change and they will put in the most spectacular line they can, that within some sort of reason that they can pull people in. Unfortunately, this is where mainstream media is because of the lack of funds that they have. The newspapers are now gone. The broadcasts that happen every evening have been hollowed out for years for viewers, and that continues. So unfortunately, regular media is now in a catch-22 that in order for them to keep the lights on at what limited facilities they have to be sensational and chase eyeballs in that way, unfortunately. And that's where we're at.
Exactly. Mr. All Electric Carlos, he says that as much as the guy believed that FSD was working, according to the accounts, it's hard to believe the car hadn't added the FSD beta. And to that, for somebody who pays $15,000 for FSD, yes, that would be difficult to understand. But for somebody who gets it for free and has like worked as hard as Elon works his workers, I could see them not really having a priority of going back into the car and pushing the button after they get home. Or depending on how early into the FSD rollout this was, because even the employees didn't all get it right away. He might have been talking about how his car will one day drive itself, and even before you got the beta, once your car got FSD package, but not necessarily FSD software, it would disable the lockouts to being able to use the auto steer and enhanced autopilot. It would disable the lockouts of using them off of the highway. So it could appear that you have FSD even when you don't back then, but even when you really didn't. And the only real way to know was very subtle differences in the display. Now it is very clear, a completely different product. And the only other way I could see, and that wouldn't apply to this guy, is if you just buy the car without any research and you get it from a used car dealer and they don't know because it's not the type of cars they sell, which there are no Tesla dealers. And you get this used car and the person lies to you or is misinformed, whichever, both. Uh, and they tell you the car's got FSD, and again, you're low information because you didn't do any research, and then you think that the autopilot, auto steer might be FSD. But again, that doesn't apply to this guy. But those are the two ways I could see this going down the way that it did. Because if you remember, how many months was I a safest driver at 100% safety score before they actually gave me the software?
Yeah.
So he could have this could have really been during that same period where maybe he didn't have the full thing yet, but he had auto steer, and it is tragic. But Mr. Electric also says that, but what they're telling people that it didn't have it downloaded, so I guess didn't have it. Most folks want to say that sometimes car companies lie. No, they totally could not tell the truth. I mean, Elon does say some stuff sometimes, but I really doubt that Tesla's head of policy and biz dev would also purposely or accidentally say the wrong thing to the press on a factual matter such as this, especially where, like you said, one of their colleagues tragically perished. I mean, that is still a possibility that two people could lie there, but I don't think that's what happened there based on who is saying it. And so to not put any of this in the headline and not to put any of this before halfway through the article, we're talking like page 7 and 3 audio and visual pieces, was also irresponsible of the Washington Post. Mr. Aldrich says, I didn't get the FSD beta download until September of 2022, so it may not have even been added yet. Yeah, and that's what I'm suggesting here, since this was in 22. I might have had it, but this guy might not have had it, and I can see how he could be confused, and I can see how the family and friends might also be confused if they don't know the difference. Some people just call all of that stuff FSD, even if he was
it's kind of a moot point anyways, because obviously he wasn't paying attention and he wasn't adhering to his responsibility if the package even was installed on the vehicle.
Right.
It was beyond that. He had decided that he was going to check out and be above the legal limit and drive that vehicle anyways, or monitor if that was the case, right, which I don't believe so. And he was unable to do so based on his state. And that is something that he's the one that broke the contract. Yeah, it's tragic that someone dies from it, but it's also tragic that someone gets behind the wheel drunk and is depending on a beta system to drive them home safely. That would be criminal as well.
Yes. We look at this chart right here. He was at a 0.26. That's actually off the chart right here. Chart goes to 0.15. You get at 0.15, you get far less muscle control than normal. Vomiting may occur unless this level is reached slowly or the person has developed a tolerance for alcohol. Major loss of balance. Substantial impairment to vehicle control, attention to driving task, and necessary visual and auditory information processing. So even if you are in a supervisory role, that assumes that at some point you might need to take over. But even if you didn't need to take over, it says that you are unable to effectively supervise. So
yeah, it's tragic, but it is the human condition. Many of us make wrong decisions, and some of us make extremely wrong decisions, and this is the latter.
Yes, it was. So then Tesla wants to challenge my title of Mr. Supercharger. If you happen to be having any trips before the end of the quarter, uh, just plug in. Plug in as many superchargers as you can. And whoever has the most superchargers, not sessions, but individual unique stations, you are in the running for a prize. And winners will be announced on March 31st. So,
And it's cryptic as to what the prize is. They call it an Easter egg. I don't know what that means.
yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Well, they're probably because if it's something really good, they don't want a bunch of people going and charging all over the
although there are probably a few out there that are doing that right as we speak.
Oh, there are. Just for the sake of competition. But I mean, like, if they said something like, "Oh yeah, you get the Cybertruck when it comes back from Japan," station would be full. But also, if they said, "Hey, here's a sticker to put in your back window," how many people would actually participate? I mean, there are again still some people who are just that competitive that they'll go for the sticker, but so they're having a little bit of fun here.
Yeah.
Let's go compete for an unannounced prize.
I hope more fun ensues. I hope they have other little competitions and update the app a little bit to give you like a total of unique superchargers you've been to, like that. Nice little things that you could add to the existing app that shows superchargers you visited previously.
I like it. Yeah. So who do we think in this audience and in the Tesla Life audience is going to beat Mr. Supercharger this quarter? I'll start by saying that I don't have any trips planned, but they don't call me Mr. Supercharger reason. So,
well, of course, since we have to rely on people's honest reporting of where they've been, because of course there is no value you could show in your app at this point.
Yeah.
Tesla's keeping track of this in the background in their database, but it'll be interesting. It's not going to be me. I am not competing. In fact, my competing value is to stay away from the superchargers as often as possible. If I can charge at home and get the electricity for 1/8 the price.
That part. That was the other thing I forgot to mention is yes, not everybody has free supercharging. So, what do you think the biggest bill is going to be for somebody in the competition?
There you go. Yeah. And then the Easter egg is a sticker.
Well, we don't know what it is, but it could just.
Well, I'm just saying, congratulations. You spent $3,200 in supercharging in the last 3 months, and you get this nice little sticker.
Now it'd be worth it for the Cybertruck, but oh, you know what would be a really fair prize is free supercharging for life, and then they backdate it to the beginning of the competition. But again, we have no idea.
No, we don't know. So don't take our word for it. We have no idea.
That's pure speculation. What do you think it might be? Leave a comment in the chat, and if you watch this later, leave a comment on either my X posts or rather hit me up on Twitter on X or leave a comment
here.
Below. Yeah, comment below here. All right. So the next article we've got is from Sawyer Merritt.
Kacey, I got to bow out.
Okay.
But it was great meeting with you again, and for the last hour and a half. And we thank everyone for watching. And if you're interested about charging hubs, visit us on Monday at the Tesla Life at 7 p.m. Eastern. And there's my my last plug of the evening.
There you go. And we'll be live on chat. So take a look.
That's right.
Yes. All right,
very good.
Thank you, Mark. So
bye.
Bye. So the LG Energy CEO has said they're starting the mass production of their 4680 battery cells, and that could happen as early as August at their new Arizona factory. And LG is considering a plan to manufacture 4680s at its Nanjing plant in China as well. And so that says that who else is buying 4680s but Tesla at this moment? So that says to me that that Tesla's feeling more comfortable about their implementation of it, and we might start to see some of the 4680 structural pack Model Ys come back online, or we might see the Cybertruck rollout ramp up even faster. And let's see what we've got next. A couple more articles, not too many. This one's from Brandon Flash. says, it's a Drive Tesla Canada actually says, where did you find this in my app? It's updated, but it says it's unlocked through the app. So what this is Brandon Flash is saying that on the Magic Dock now, instead of telling it I'm charging my non Tesla at a supercharger, and then getting it all activated and pushing in and then pulling back, the new mechanism, at least for some people, is you hold down the button for 2 seconds, and then you'll hear it click, and then you pull the Magic Dock out of the supercharger that way. It's interesting. Whereas for Drive Tesla Canada, I believe it's Darren is probably still seeing the previous instruction where you push up and pull back to get the Magic Dock out after doing it in the app. So that was just something to pay attention to. And Brandon says maybe it's only in the U.S. I didn't look at mine to see what it said. Maybe I should. Let's go to the Tesla app. It's going to wake my car up. Then we're going to go to... Wow! My Cybertruck is in the app now. It's ready for me to start designing it. So they want me to buy it on the phone. All right, so then I swiped again. It took me back to the existing car. Interesting. But what I really wanted to do was do the Charge My Non-Tesla app. Let's see. I think I go to location, charging. It used to be just right there. It might be harder for me because I don't have a non-Tesla. Oh, here it is. They moved it. Charge your non-Tesla. It's under your profile picture. Charge your non-Tesla. The nearest one for me. Wow. They've got charge your non-Teslas here, like nearby where I am. There were only a few of them last time I looked in here. That's incredible. So you hit that. Oh, it's a destination charger. That's not going to do it for me. I need a supercharger. Charge your non-Tesla. Okay. That is also a destination charger. I need real chargers for this. Not that, you know what I mean. I need superchargers. So let's say, let's just zoom out. Go back to where I know some of them are. There we go. This one says 3. It's in Maryland. You can pay less with membership. Without membership, it's 51 cents a kilowatt hour at the Easton, Maryland. I click charge here.
I don't know that one.
What he was talking to. All right, so I can get started. Yeah, so it might be a US thing. I get the same thing that Brandon has about push and holding for 2 seconds and then release it. And then it tells you how to stop charging and return it so you get your stuff back. Sweet. No, don't charge me. I don't want to charge. They're like, all right, great. Now that you know how to do it, which credit card do you want to put it on? That is neat. All right, so next up, we've got my mouse is jumping all over, so hopefully I clicked on what I thought I clicked on. Yep. This one is from Matthew Fosberg. It says the amount of value that's packed into the Tesla Powerwall 3 is mind-blowing. Powerwall 3 stores the same amount of energy as Powerwall 2, but the Powerwall 3 can charge 230% continuously faster than the 2. The the light is coming in on the camera. This means that a single Powerwall 3 has enough. I'm going to read down here. Sorry, it's just easier. Has enough power to handle all of the loads. About 80% of households. Energy expansions will be coming out later this year. So basically, the Powerwall 3 battery packs, and you can have 4 Powerwall 3 main units on your home. But you like the whole point of this is you should only need one Powerwall 3 main unit. And Mr. All Electric says. Profile connected FSD license. That'd be something I'd love that. They need that. And then he also says that the closest to Florida is Columbia, South Carolina. Really? Wow. And that one in Columbia, I think, is probably going to be the version 4 dispensers that are located off Forest Drive, because all the US V4 dispensers we've seen have Magic Dock built in. And with my experience of using the version 4 dispensers, I would say that the push and hold is probably a better experience than the push-push, given how stiff it is to use a system with Magic Dock on it. Getting there with opening the network, which is interesting. I agree. All right, so back to the Powerwall 3, sorry. The point of it is that you should only need one, according to what he's telling us here. So you could have one with however many expansions it offers, and maybe 2. Based on what I'm seeing, you shouldn't need more than 2 unless you have like a 400 amp house or something. So can enough power to handle all the loads in about 80% of households. Energy expansions are coming out later this year, and I'm guessing they'll be much less expensive than Powerwall 3. It's hard to put a value on this, but improvement could save you from needing up to 2 separate panels, one for backup loads and the other for non-backup loads. My estimated value for this is $2,000, but even with that extra work, you still don't have as good of an overall system because you have to choose some loads to be in a non-backup panel. And aside here, I've got this set up with my non-Powerwall on this house. I've got a critical loads panel, and it's got all the low voltages except one of the bedrooms. And it's fine, but there are times where if you say start cooking and run the furnace and you'll have to shed some loads. But with one Powerwall 3, that would not be an issue for this. That's pretty cool. The increase in and it would be able to run the 240 load, so it'd be able to run the air conditioner and the oven and all that. The increase in power discharge will also decrease the quantity of power walls that a person would need to purchase and install in some situations. The value for this is roughly $10,000. Yeah. A single Powerwall 3 can also be paired with up to 20 kilowatts of solar arrays because the built-in solar inverter, and that's substantial. I think this house only has 8 kilowatts of panels and like 7 and change kilowatts of inverters. So let's see, that's about $2,000 worth of Tesla inverters, or about $11,000 worth of microinverters that you wouldn't need to purchase for a 20 kilowatt system. Those numbers aren't not including labor savings, equipment only. Yeah, and then if you have micros, they have to attach every panel with its own inverter. And if you have the main one, then you gotta set that up and configure it. Versus setting up one device with a battery, which has got the inverter in it. It'll be interesting to see what energy expansion module pricing is later this year. I believe they will also be the same 13.5 kilowatt hours each, but I don't think they will have their own solar inverters or site controllers. Probably not. So they should be much less expensive to manufacture and much less expensive to purchase. If so, this really starts to add a ton of value. Powerwall 3 runs cooler due to its new thermal management system, and also because of the change in battery technology to lithium iron phosphate. Needless to say, I'm excited about this and cannot wait to get my hands on the product. My customers are going to benefit immensely from this engineering marvel. Thank you to Tesla, Tesla Energy, and Elon Musk for your product. Thank you to these guys, and especially to everyone that worked on the engineering and product and producing this new product. There we go. And there's the other side of the new Powerwall that you rarely see in the photos. And I skipped over the part about the gateway. I'm sorry. How did I do that? Yeah, I totally skipped over the gateway part. So Powerwall 3 has a built-in site controller. It means that you can install it with the Tesla backup switch instead of the Tesla gateway. The Tesla gateway is a wonderful piece of equipment that may be a better option in certain situations due to its versatility. But the backup switch is more than $500 less expensive than the gateway and has a lot less labor and works in most situations if your utility will allow it. Estimate this value to be about $2,000. So the backup switch basically just kicks your meter off of the grid, and the energy gateway is a lot more tech. But if you can make it simpler and cheaper, that's kind of the Tesla way. Let's see. Acura has revealed the final pricing on their ZDX EV. The ZDX and the ZDX Type S starting prices are $64,500 for the 325-mile range. Not terrible for what they're selling. The ZDX all-wheel drive, $68,500 for 315 miles of range, and the ZDX Type S will give you 500 horsepower and 288 miles of range for $73,500. So you spend more and get less range each way. Delivery start this spring, so any day now. All right, and then let's talk about IF Metal real quick because there have been developments. All right, so the lack of knowledge within the union, especially IF Metal, is greatly underestimated. Here is this particular Anders' investigation. So this is the Anders the reporter, not the Anders in chat with us. In the matter of which the owner could get their Tesla fixed and who couldn't. It's mind-blowing. What a story. So it's kind of a long one. So what happened here is IF Metal agreed to allow some people to get their cars repaired. And what wasn't making sense to me was the Tesla hadn't shut down at all, so what were they talking about? So you might remember we talked about the guy whose grandfather joined a collective agreement for his car repair shop. And then they started making almost all their money off of repairing crashed Teslas. Well, when IF Metal did the sympathy strike, and his people are part of one of the sympathy striking places, it threatened to put him out of business. IF Metal has allowed a temporary reprieve for some owners. And what does that mean? It means that if your car is over 3 years old and undrivable, that you can use your insurance to get it repaired. In Sweden, they have something else. It's called, well, actually, they have two types of warranties. They've got one where the manufacturer pays half of these crashes within 3 years, and another that's just what the rest of us have, is just regular auto insurance, like the comprehensive. So they were never stopped from helping with the comprehensive, per se. But because it was a Tesla, IF Metal wasn't letting the body shops work on your car. So there were people affected, but we're not talking about, I need a new control arm because my car is squeaking, or seatbelt light is on, I need to replace the seatbelt module, something like that. That Tesla would do, and they would handle it for you, and they were not affected except for the 13 people who were on strike at Tesla. This was somebody ran into you, and the car wasn't deemed a total loss, and it's currently undrivable because there's no windshield or side window or whatever, the seatbelt's extended out, that sort of thing. And to get your body shop repair, you had to go through a body shop. But most of these body shops are part of the union, and the union was doing a lot of collective action to try and get Tesla to come to the table and force all their people into the union. And that wasn't working, and they've given now a reprieve for some of these people whose cars are older than 3 years old to get the cars repaired. Unless your car is older than 3 years and somehow it's on that manufacturer paid portion, and at that point it's still not covered because Tesla's involved and they're trying to screw Tesla. or make Tesla feel screwed. Let's call it that way. Yeah, that's more accurate. So as long as it's you and your insurance, or you by yourself, and your car is older than 3 years old, and it's in this time frame, then IF Metal will allow their union workers at the body shop to repair your car until time runs out. Anders says the most Teslas here in Sweden are newer than 3 years old. So Anders is pointing out, our Anders, not the one in the reporter, is pointing out that almost nobody can use this. So this is probably to save face and look like they've done a good deed, when really they're still screwing anybody whose car is waiting at the body shop, because they're almost all newer than 3 years old. Great point, Anders. I appreciate that. Wow. And so the next thing we're going to get into with IF Metal is it might not be the next one. It might be the one after that, but it gets a little juicy. Yeah, so it's definitely the one after that, and that gets juicy. So Nicholas is pointing out they're still inept and incompetent, because even IF Metal's press service didn't know the difference. So he's saying the lack of understanding within the union, and especially IF Metal, is greatly underestimated. Here, Anders, the reporter, is his investigation in the matter of which owners can actually get their Tesla service and which couldn't. It's a mind-blowing story. The union's information is incorrect about Tesla exemption. When IF Metal announced on Tuesday that Tesla owners whose cars have been unusable at third-party workshops since the strike began would now have a chance to get them repaired. About 100 to 200 customers, as our Anders was saying, it's not a lot of people. Probably breathed a sigh of relief. We made sure that the cars are properly crashed and that they are undrivable, and that now are in these workshops that are taken out in sympathy measure, that for a period here, a temporary period, you'll be able to fix these cars, says the spokesperson. It is the union's local branches that, together with the workshops, will decide which cars can be repaired. And they're going to look at your registration. They're going to read your license plate number. They're going to look them up in the computer to decide, yes, you can or cannot. So yes, all these cars are over 3 years old and not drivable. So those that have sheet metal damage. So if you just got a dent in your door, your car is still being held hostage. But if your car is not drivable, then they can continue to work on it. They will not be exempt. So they being like the cosmetic damages. We'll also go through each license plate number and each car specifically to see which ones are exempt from this. It's a mess. All right, so he goes on explaining the hows and whys. And when IF Metal's press service didn't really have a clue and drew the same incorrect conclusions, I called him myself. He didn't understand the difference at first, but he returned and was able to tell. As long as the car is not ordered from Tesla to the workshop. So basically, if you're in a crash and you took it to Tesla's site first and they sent it to the body shop, or Tesla sent you a referral to get to the body shop, they still won't work on it, even if it's older than 3 years old. And it's not drivable, the car should be able to be repaired. And that's always the case when carriage damage guarantee is used, but the union's local ombudsman not having a clue, thus making mistakes, is remarkably lousy. So my understanding between the carriage versus the wagon damage, the carriage damage would be the one that is just the regular insurance to the rest of us, comprehensive insurance. And the wagon damage would be the warranty, the one where the manufacturer chips in to help your car get fixed. Now, here comes the juicy bit. Breaking. The federal lawyer ends at IF Metal, one of the men behind the strike. So it says he quits, but let's go ahead and look at the actual article. And we'll translate into English with machine translation. All right, so the union's lawyer resigns from IF Metal. Darko Dadovic, he leaves with immediate effect. Sorry, tongue-tied. With immediate effect after the review. We have decided to go our separate ways, says the secretary, Gernusman. So it sounds bad. We don't know what happened, and they won't tell us what happened. They call it a personal matter. Since this is a personal matter, I cannot go into more detail. We will go our separate ways for now. It's clear the information is serious, that it risks damaging the Federation. Federation and Darko Dadovic have therefore decided to go their separate ways from now on, says the Union Secretary, Martin Gunnarsson. In what way has he breached the employment contract? I can't say that. It's a personal matter. I do not want to go into the details. We've gone separate ways. Have you been aware of the business he has done on the side? No, of course not. It came as a complete surprise. So what we are getting insinuated to us is that he was doing something on the side, and that the IF Metal says they didn't know about it. So does this mean that they're going to stop? Because the president of the group above IF Union, she decided not to go for re-election or keep her next term or whatever. And now the lawyer that was pushing all of this, he is out, and he has done or tried to do business in countries such as the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Tunisia, Guatemala, and Cyprus. What do you think about it? It's, of course, particularly inappropriate to be involved in private transactions in several of these countries. Absolutely true. He exported satellite antennas to Russia. This has been out of our control. Has the question come to us, is it okay to do this? The answer would have been no, of course. We've not known about it. Okay, wait a minute now. Satellite antennas to Russia. And Ukraine just alleged that Russia had Starlink. Could it be that he was the one who put the satellites in the Starlink terminals in Russia? Elon says they shouldn't have worked, but if they didn't work, there's no reason to put them out there. So it might have been a case that they weren't yet at the point where they shut themselves down, because where they turned on at, like it wouldn't be at the front lines of the conflict area. It's interesting. Or it could have been other satellite dishes. Russia's in a hurtful place right now. And how might this affect IF Metal? Of course, we're in the trust business. Every step, yeah, the trust business, all right. Every step we take, whether it's during work or in our free time, must always lead by example and behave in a responsible way. Otherwise, we risk damaging the association and the Federation's good reputation. And then, of course, they reached out to the lawyer for a comment. And since they ended the article, I assume that means they didn't get the comment. Wow. And with that, that is our IF Metal situation for the week. So, what do you think about that? It's like, again, I'm not against unions. It's just this sympathy strike situation. I'm not against that either, because that's like they say, is the Swedish way. What I am against is that they're having sympathy for people who don't want it. That's the part that's always been weird about this. Is every time you talk to a Tesla employee, they're on the record or off the record, they're like, "We don't want it. Why are you here?" So, with that, we will see you Monday on the Tesla Live Show, and then back here again next week on Just Chatting with Let's Chat with Kacey Green and Friends. And I want to thank all of you for coming in and spending your time, and I want to thank all of our channel members and partners like Anders there. And you guys, your financial input makes this a little easier to manage. And with that, we'll catch you on the flip side. Thank you very much.